Hello friends, Namaskar. I am Dr. Ashish Shah on behalf of Samanvay Briefings. Today we will be talking about US-India relations and especially the statements coming from President Trump. As you know, just after the Operation Sindoor, which was held on 10th of May, there was a statement coming from President Trump that he has brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. He also added that it was because of he threatened that if they don't agree to it, he will not trade with either of the countries. However, that statement was not taken kindly by India, and India has refuted that America or President Trump mediated for this ceasefire. So this was the start of a controversy that has many dimensions and has also uh, made to suffer the Indo-US relationships. Now, if you see, just before the start of the parliament session, that was today, just a few days before, President Trump has given another statement, and this time he added one more line, which was that there were 5 planes that were crashed during Operation Sindoor. However, he didn't tell the name of the country to which these 5 planes belonged. He just said that 5 planes were also crashed during this Operation Sindoor. Now, what is important is the timing of this statement coming from President Trump, because the same statement was used by the opposition parties today in the parliament when they said that America is saying that 5 planes were crashed, while India has so far not confirmed any such damage to our fighter planes. So, if you see the statements coming from President Trump right from 10th May to this 2-3 days before, he has said this statement of brokering the ceasefire almost 24 times, which is a huge number from any standard. No president, or for that matter, no state of our head, or for that matter, no serious person will tell this many times one particular statement, right? Unless he has some strong reason to convey a message to someone, right? Which means that the statement made by President Trump is for Prime Minister Modi and no one else. Of course, he is using different platforms to make these statements, but his target is Prime Minister Modi. So the question arises, why President Trump is teasing Prime Minister Modi on this particular issue. Now, what we understand is both India as well as America, that is President Trump, can be right in their version of the statement. President Trump, on behalf of President Trump, Secretary Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance has mediated, and it was a partial mediation and not complete. Partial in the sense that they might have conveyed India's message to Pakistan to make a call to Indian DGMO for a peace talk, and their role ended there. While this can be seen as a mediation, India does not regard it as a proper mediation. So what is the reason India is not accepting? Right. The reason is President Trump has also, during the same statements, that he is willing to broker a peace on the Kashmir issue also. But he used the name of Kashmir only once, thereafter he didn't tell anything about Kashmir. It was here that India didn't like the statement of President Trump to broker a peace between India and Pakistan on the issue of Kashmir. Kashmir is a very serious issue for India, and India doesn't want any country to get into this, whether it is America or Russia or China or anyone. This has been a very clear red line that has been made. Right? So when President Trump has said that he is willing to broker a peace between India and Pakistan on Kashmir, and after that he also said that he has brokered a ceasefire on Operation Sindoor, India was in a dilemma. It was, on one side, President Trump has indeed brokered a peace on the Operation Sindoor event, but he was also talking about brokering a peace for Kashmir. And it was this reason that India has to refute all the statements coming from President Trump. However, President Trump also didn't like this thing that India has not accepted his statement that he has brokered the peace between India and Pakistan on the Operation Sindoor issue. Right. And that's why he has been repeating the same thing again and again, and it is reported that he has said almost 24 times. And just to tease further, this time he has made another statement to the previous one that 5 planes were damaged. It will be interesting to see what else President Trump will add going. So, this is basically, it's not a very big issue, right? However, this is going to hurt India and especially Prime Minister Modi for quite some time. India will have to take the initiative because President Trump is not someone who will back down. That is for sure. And he will just going to increase its intensity of statements. Therefore, our opinion is that India needs to take an initiative, sit down with Secretary Rubio and J.D. Vance, and then of course President Trump later on, and try to solve this issue at the earliest, right? Because two countries fighting for just a very small controversy doesn't look good, and especially seeing India's interest. It is also worth observing that President Trump is looking for a Nobel Prize for himself this year. He has been already nominated by Pakistan as well as Israel. Right? So if India also accepts that President Trump has indeed brokered a ceasefire between the two countries, it will strengthen President Trump's case for a Nobel Peace Prize. And if India doesn't, then it may hamper the same. Therefore, India has to be a bit practical. It has to leave its rigid stance and try to get some sort of middle path on this issue so that further damage can be stopped. I think this should not be allowed to further escalate because we have yet not reached the tariff trade agreement also. Had India accepted this position of President Trump, maybe we could have brokered the tariff barriers, more easily. It has been lingering and prolonging because both sides are again rigid and adamant. So someone has to bow down, and for that India has to give something. In return, India will get something. It's as simple as that. So in our opinion, India should not allow this silly controversy to escalate further and talk to America and get a peaceful settlement out of it. Thank you.